The second half of our post-free agency mock draft is coming your way today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins.
Joe, happy April Fool's Day to you. I do solemnly swear to not give you any fools here on the show.
I got already today.
Fake account?
No, it wasn't a fake account. I'm a little embarrassed by this.
Okay.
No free pub, but there is a soap company that I purchased their products. They also produce deodorant, shampoo, all these products that I purchased. And they put out an email this morning that was like, oh, now available edible soap. And it's chocolate chip and like cookie dough flavor that you can wash yourself with and take a bite. I'm looking at this email. I'm like, who wanted this? I was like, well, I got to see how much it is.
Did you click the so you clicked the link?
I clicked the link. I clicked the link and I got. It's pretty good. Pretty good. I'll let my guard
all the
down.
ways that you could get got on April Fools, that is probably a preferable way to do it.
Yeah, it was like just so subtle, just like an email, you know? It's all right. Not like it's on, like if I'm on the timeline.
You're half awake because you're up at 4 a.m. anyway, right? So
I was fully awake. Yeah, I was showered. I sat down.
No. I tried to give you the extra benefit of the
doubt.
No,
there's no benefit of the doubt. I've been thinking about April Fools, and I was like, I better check my emails here before I get started with some stuff. And, got. So head on a swivel, folks.
Yep. Don't believe anything you read on the timeline today.
Well, which is a heck of a day for the NFL to start talking about rule changes being passed. So we'll see. We'll see how it all goes.
We are finishing what we started yesterday, though, here today on the show, which is we did picks 1 through 16 of a first round 2025 NFL mock draft. And the nice thing about the current state of affairs with the NFL draft order, Joe, is every team has their first round pick. So we don't have to do like any bonus picks so that team fan bases can feel included or anything like. Nope. Everybody's got their own.
Yeah, that's cool, right?
First round pick. And we could just do it. And we have 16 picks to make today. If you want to know who got picked yesterday, we're not going to tell you. You got to go listen to yesterday's show. So hit pause, go listen to yesterday's, and then come back and catch the second half today because we're starting with the Bengals on the clock. Joe has odds, and I have evens.
All right.
Floor's yours.
Cincinnati Bengals pick. Is it 17? Is that what it is?
Pick 17, yes.
Pick 17.
Have to do math.
Yeah. I think the Bengals got some stuff to figure out, man.
They did.
And in particular, O-line, D-line. And they've got some young investments on their D-line. Chris Jenkins, second-round pick last year. Miles Murphy, 2023 first-rounder. They brought back Joseph Osai, on a one-year deal. Those players got to be something for them. I'd love to give them a defensive tackle. But I look at this offensive line, and this middle three of Cordell Volson, who's been really just not really taking a step at all after being like a sufficient player as a rookie. Ted Karras is on the wrong side of 30. And then Cody Ford is an unserious starter at right guard.
Mm-hmm.
I got to help Joe, man. I got to help him out. And so for as much as I'd love to give them a defensive tackle, and I think there's some great options, I got to go get some help on this offensive line. Now, here's where I get a little bit stuck. And you kind of look through the Bengals draft history, and their early picks is big round. It's big school guys, man. They picked LSU, Georgia, Alabama, Clemson. It's like big schools. But we're going to break that trend a little bit.
Because you're doing it.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to go with Kelvin Banks here.
No, you think about Kelvin Banks. You think about Tyler Booker just like as big-bodied, big school.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give him who I think is the best offensive lineman on the board left, and that's Gray Zabel out of North Dakota State.
Made it to the teens.
Yeah, man. Like, it's the flexibility to play any of those three spots on the interior, I think, is very meaningful, especially when you consider like maybe he can start at guard this year and then get through this season with Karras, and now you have your long-term center potentially in place while he gets the protections down and gets the philosophy of the offense down. I feel like that'd be a really good pick for Cincinnati. So I didn't want to get yelled at by Bengals fans all day for giving them Tyler Booker and, a guy that can't move, although I think he's kind of like some of the offensive linemen they've preferred in the past. So we're going to go with the guy that I would actually give them preferentially. We'll give him Gray Zabel.
Love the pick. Was in consideration on the short list for my pick here at number 18 with Seattle. But with that being said, there's been an overhaul of the offensive side of the ball with the Seahawks. But as I look at the group that they have, I do feel like we're missing something. You obviously went out and signed Sam Darnold for agency. You made sure that you've kind of started the process of restocking the well. They bring in Josh Jones to compete for offensive line spot. They bring in Cooper Kupp to go with Jackson Smith and Jigba. You say, okay, like that, we're a good part of the way there. But I think we need more interior offensive line help. And I think we need a different kind of wide receiver. Valdez-Scantling is the right style of receiver, but I don't know how much Valdez-Scantling is an answer that I want to put a lot of eggs in that basket in if I'm Seattle. So I'm going to take the player who I think is the best field stretcher, even if he wasn't necessarily consistently asked to be a field stretcher in 2024, and that's Matthew Golden from Texas. I think he's a great vertical plane player to go with Cooper Kupp and Jackson Smith and Jigba to give them a little bit more complementary skill set in their wide receivers.
Like the pick a lot. Tampa Bay here at number 18.
19.
Draft dudes do math. Even reading numbers is hard for us.
Yeah.
Or me. I won't lump you in on that one.
You can put me in that too. That's applicable.
I would love to give Tampa an off-ball linebacker, and Carson Swetchinger is very, very tantalizing, but we're going to wait on that. We're going to just draft Demetrius Knight in the second round and move on with our lives.
Okay.
We're going to get some defensive line help here. I would like to no longer be relying on like Logan Hall and Anthony Nelson. Those players are like role players to me. And I just don't think that I don't think the light bulb's going to come on for Logan Hall to be like an impact player. I think they need some help with that front. Now it's just deciding on which one, because I would love to give them an edge rusher. They obviously have Hassan Reddick, Yaya Diaby. That doesn't stop anything, but I feel like they need that trench player, like the hand in the dirt 5-tech. Who can be the hand in the dirt 5-tech here? Maybe Mikel Williams out of Georgia. Feels like that'd be the length, the guy that can really give him that 2-gap ability, but also some athleticism. I think it'd be a fun group. Like you could put Mikel Williams, Kalijah Cansey, and Vita Vea as your down 3. Talk about just complementary skill sets. There's a lot there. So I want to elevate that spot that's just been Logan Hall. It's been William Golston. It's been who's the other guy I just said? Anthony Nelson. It's like,
yeah.
Let's get some skill here. And hopefully Mikel Williams can give that to us.
All right. So that puts the Broncos on the clock at pick number 20. And I am very tempted to go with a wide receiver where, they bring in Evan Ingerman free agency. They obviously have the emergence of Vele as a young player that's flashed a little bit, outperformed Troy Franklin, who was a rookie as well for him last year. Still got Marvin Mims. We're trying to figure out where the ceiling is with Marvin Mims, and all of this obviously is in tandem with Cortland Sutton as kind of the volume player here. But I am very excited about the idea of putting Omarion Hampton in this offense behind this offensive line.
Is this just going to happen? Like, we just got to live with this? Is this the Bo Nix? Like, we knew Bo Nix for a month was going to be the Broncos pick.
Maybe he's telegraphed his hand. I don't know. But, if you have the deluxe version of Audric Estime, and he's staring you here in the face, And I think he can be a 3-down type of player. And obviously you have Jaleel McLaughlin, who can be a piece of that running back stable. I think the fit is great. And the offensive line that's in front of him has a lot of punch. You're now creating more math problems to kind of force multiply what Evan Ingram can do in the middle of the field. I think the fit's perfect. I know it's a deep running back class, but I think you'll have options if you want to add another name at wide receiver a little bit later if you're Denver as well. So I'm going Omarion Hampton here at 20.
All right. It's just going to happen. Omarion Hampton to the Broncos. Get your jersey. Hopefully he can tell you what number he's going to wear now. The way you can have it for draft day, right? Because this is going down.
Yep.
All right, we got a bunch more picks. Steelers, Chargers, Packers lead things off in the next segment. Folks, be sure to stick with us. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. The insights are surprising. When I first started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. Plus, the convenience is awesome. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Plus, it's easy to collaborate. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year.
Steelers are on the clock, Joe. I hope Rodgers is coming.
Mike Tomlin said Mason Rudolph can be a QB1.
I know what Mike Tomlin said. Mike Tomlin didn't mean that.
Man, I hope it happens. Let's go, baby. Let's lean into Mason. You know, he could throw nine balls to DK down the field and hand it off to Jaylen Warren. Play a little defense, make a few plays on special teams, win 9 or 10 games, lose in the first round of the playoffs, man. We've been watching the Steelers for the last 7 years doing that. So they got the right quarterback to fit the script. I guess I should pick a player. I don't have a quarterback for you. I'm sorry.
There are no quarterbacks that are
Quinn Ewers, you know?
Tyler Shuck.
What about Jalen Milroe, you know? Nah, we're not doing that. This is an interesting pick, though, really, because I think this is likely that these quarterbacks will be off the board, and you got to start thinking about other stuff. For this team. And 2 spots come to mind. I think a defensive tackle, defensive lineman makes kind of some sense there. You know, Isaiah Loudermilk, one of the penciled-in starters. Larry Ogunjobi, a player that left in free agency. So there's certainly some good value there. I think Walter Nolan, Derek Harmon, maybe Darius Alexander, those are players that would make sense to me. We also are relying on Darius Slay on a 1-year deal to be the guy opposite of Joey Porter. I think Joey Porter is going to be pretty handsomely paid after this season. So maybe getting a running mate there that is cost controlled but gives you impact as a starter might not be a bad idea for this team. So I'm thinking about a corner. Now it's a matter of which one. I think Trey Amos is very like Joey Porter Jr. Maybe not as long. Darian Porter's a big swing. Azaria Thomas, Maxwell Harrison. Do you think they'd like Maxwell Harrison? They brought in Dante Jackson last year.
They did.
This would be like a way better version of that, right?
In theory.
I like Harrison, man. I think he's a really good zone corner that triggers and is aggressive. Let's do that. Let's go Maxwell Harrison,
okay.
Corner, Kentucky, for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we got our guy Joey Porter that's going to line up with your X-receiver. We got Maxwell Harrison that's going to be able to carry your speed guy. There it is. I like it. I don't know if Steelers fans are going to like it, but I like it.
Okay. I'm keeping my mouth shut the rest of the way because I have matches I really like for a lot of the teams I have left, and I don't want to ruin them. So I'm not going to help you. But I think you came to a very good conclusion here with Maxwell Harrison. And I know corner's pretty high up on the direction that Pittsburgh could go. Which brings me to the Chargers.
There's a right pick here, Kyle Crabbs. You do that to me a lot. I'm doing it to you.
Are you going to tell me it's Colston Loveland?
Oh, absolutely.
I believe it. But there is an opportunity with a player that's on the board that's going to be really hard for me to pass up. I look at the Chargers, and obviously they've brought in Mike Williams. They brought in Andre James and Mekhi Becton and Najee Harris. A lot of physicality in free agency on the offensive side of the ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
I look over on defense, and it's Deshaun Hand, and they brought back Tier Tart, and they brought back Khalil Mack on a 1-year deal. Got a lot of young guys in the secondary. Kind of feel like we need a little bit more juice on that side of the ball. Our third pass rusher is Bud Dupree. I don't think that's a serious option to have.
Agreed.
And I got Mike Green sitting here staring me in the face.
Ooh. Got other good rushers too. How do you decide which one?
Probably too good of a situation for me to pass up as far as the match with Mike Green playing behind Khalil Mack for a year. Obviously, you have Tui Pelotu as another pass rusher who's been very good his first couple of years in the league. Green once upon a time kind of perceived as a top 10 player. There's some off the field work that teams are going to have to do with Mike Green to kind of get comfortable with his situation. He disclosed and discussed at the combine, and that both in high school and at Virginia, he was accused of sexual assault. No charges came out of any of those accusations, but teams are going to have to be comfortable with that. And I have to imagine at some point a team will find enough answers that they feel comfortable with that Mike Green's going to get drafted. And the talent is obviously super high. And this is kind of that intersection from a depth of the draft perspective that Mike Green is an awesome value at 22 for a team that needs pass rush help. So I'm going to make that fit instead of Colston Loveland, who is the low-hanging fruit Michigan player with Michigan coaches with a role they really don't have in the offense that I agree with you, Joe, would be a right pick if you made.
There's 3 spots for Colston Loveland left, and we'll see which one he goes to. He's going in this first round. I can assure you of that. I have the opportunity to make sure that happens.
Okay.
Green Bay Packers. Kyle, like we talked about yesterday, I love that this mock draft is really kind of opened up a new, fresh scenario. Because I've been thinking for the Packers, D-line, I've been thinking corner, and I agree. I think those are areas and there's players that would make a lot of sense for them. But I'm going to look at the receiver situation. I mean, Tet McMillan is sitting here on the board. And here's what's interesting about this Packers no true number 1 receiver deal. Dobbs and Watson, they're expiring contracts. Like, they're up after this year. And like, do you know enough about either player to like come to the right deal? Yeah, that's kind of a goofy thing. And then Jaden Reed's going to be up after this season. He's extension eligible now. Like, I think we gotta restock the cupboard here and maybe give us ourselves a chance to have a true player that we can funnel the passing game through. And I think Tet McMillan gives them a chance to do that. So I'd love to I think the corner and D-line, the depth of that class makes it especially consumable, or increases my appetite to go with the receiver right now because I don't think there's the same level of depth. So we're going to go Tet McMillan here to the Packers at number 23.
I am sprinting this card. Nick Eamon-Warry is on the board for the Minnesota Vikings. They got Harrison Smith back again, kind of doing the thing annually. Is he going to keep playing? They lost Cam Bynum in free agency. Now they still have Josh Metellus as a promising player, but you get a freak of nature like this playing on the back end on an aggressive defense like the one that Minnesota implements, and he can create a lot of problems. You can put that guy in a lot of places, and then he can teleport to other places on the field after the snap. That's going to force a lot of rapid processing from opposing quarterbacks. So Nick Eamon-Warry, South Carolina safety to Minnesota at 24. It's the easiest pick I've made so far today.
I got another easy one to sneak in before the break. I got the Houston Texans here at pick 25. You could talk me into these receivers. That's fine. I'm concerned about their defensive tackle situation right now with Sheldon Rankins and Tim Settle as their starters. And I don't think Sheldon Rankins has any juice left in the tank. And I think Tim Settle's a good third defensive tackle, not necessarily a preferred starter. And so looking at the options on the board, I got to get one. And I kind of feel like a player I could see them really liking is Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss, like the penetration ability, the power at the point of attack, like ability to just kind of wreak havoc. I think that would pair really nicely with Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson and really fortify this front. So we're going to go Walter Nolan here for the Texans at 25, which sets the stage for a third segment that is going to be led off by the Rams, Ravens, Lions. We get the Bills pick, courtesy of Kyle Crabbs. So, folks, be sure to stick with us. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories to even who's cutting down the nets. And, folks, you can pick your favorites. The Final Four is here. Who do you like? Well, figure that out and get some action here. FanDuel makes it easy to back them with spreads, totals, and game props. Plus, you can stay in the action. There's tournament games happening all the time, and there's always something to bet on that's exciting, and it's easy and fast. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and when I win, I get paid instantly. There's no waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long.
The Rams, pick 26, Carson Schwessinger.
Ooh,
Done.
Can't quit it. Can't quit it.
I'm not going to, so quit asking. The opportunity to play behind a defensive front that's got Fisk, Colby Turner, Byron Young, Poona Ford, Jared Verse. You put Carson Schwessinger next to Omar Spates behind that. I know they signed Nate Landman in free agency. Nate Landman's not stopping me from doing anything, including taking the local product. Played at UCLA right in your backyard. Lock this in. They could make this one of the best defenses in football long term, I think.
Yeah, the playmaking ability of the front is just off the charts. Absolutely off the charts.
With Schwessinger's instincts and be able to run behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got the Ravens at 27.
You do?
And I want to help them with their edge rush. And we're going to give them a very skilled pass rusher here in Donovan Izaraku.
Good pick.
Out of the Boston College. Odafe Owe coming up on a contract. Ajabo really hasn't done anything. Kyle Van Noy's aging. We need a new guy here to unleash in that speed rush role that Baltimore seems to get a lot of production out of. I think the multiplicity of the fronts that you're going to see out of Baltimore really lends itself to a player just like this. So where, you're not drafting Donovan Izaraku to set the edge against offensive tackles. But I think this type of scheme can really unlock the range, the athleticism, the really versatile pass rush skill set that he has. So we got some more juice off the edge here in Baltimore and Donovan Izaraku.
Did you see the wee-woo, by the way? The proposal to eliminate automatic first downs for defensive holding and illegal contact did not pass.
I was worried that there was going to be some unintended consequences there. I like the idea, but I can understand that.
And I know I said this to you off the air yesterday. The simple solution here is if the holding takes place past the first down marker, then it is a first down. If the holding does not take place past the first down marker, then it is just a 5-yard penalty.
From the spot?
From the spot of
the ball?
No.
Or where the foul happened?
From the line of scrimmage.
I think that's a good middle ground. It would be hard for that to not be pass interference if it's down the field like that, But
then just get rid of defensive holding and just have everything be pass interference.
Well, the ball needs to be thrown, right? I wouldn't like that. Let's go college rules here.
Yeah, why not? All right. Detroit. Part of me wants to shake it up. I'm not going to. Tyler Booker. Feels very much like their brand of football player along the offensive line. I thought about doing Donovan Jackson in his place. Donovan's a little bit more dynamic player. But Booker, closed phone booth type player, point A to point B displacement run blocker. I think Detroit, would probably love to double down on that DNA as they're going through their adjustments with some coaching staff losses, and he can kind of help keep that be kind of the identifying variable of Detroit in the trenches up front.
I dig it. Man, I got Washington, and this is just a really fascinating situation at 29 where I feel like there's so many different ways that they could go that would make a lot of sense to me. I can think about offensive linemen. I think there's some good value with the offensive line help that's still there. Malachi Starks is on the board. He's intriguing. Colston Loveland's intriguing. We know that they want to involve the tight ends and
don't do that. They already didn't use the one they got last year. Don't give another one.
Oh, Ben Stenot. Yeah, well, because Zach Ertz, they can't quit him. They can't quit him.
Don't do that.
Okay, so whenever I'm in this type of situation, I think about the quarterback. My quarterback's Jaden Daniels. The most important thing I can do is give him some help, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go with the offense.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go with an offensive lineman because, even with Cosme's return from injury, Nick Algoretti and Andrew Wiley are Chiefs backups that are starters. I want to raise the ceiling of this offensive line, and I'm actually going to go with Josh Simmons out of Ohio State. Really was off to a terrific year. You watch these offensive linemen this year in terms of the guys that would be in the first round, and you're looking for a very complete package of length and power and movement skills and technique. And I know it was a short sample size this year, but Josh Simmons showed us that.
Yeah.
And I think Washington benefits from picking at 29 and maybe some concerns over, the recovery and all that. Where I think it's a worthwhile swing where, he's not going to unseat Laramie Tunsil at left tackle, but I think he can potentially be a big time answer at right tackle. And, whenever Tunsil's day's over, you move him over to the left side, something like that. But I think this really gives us some more ceiling with this offensive line, which I think is the most meaningful thing that I can do to help Jaden Daniels with this pick.
So if I were going to pause the mock right here with 3 picks left, and not just because the Bills are on the clock, but if you look at the board and who's available, how many players do you feel oh yeah, this guy should be a first round pick? Because we have 3 spots left, and I see at least 5 names that I'm they should go in the first round. We're left out of the party here.
Yeah, I would see at least 4 that stand out to me as guys that should go.
Including 2 that are the 2 that I'm having a hard time deciding between for your team at 30, the Buffalo Bills.
Some good options. This is actually I think this shakes out. If this is the scenario the Bills are in,
a dream come true.
Yeah, this is definitely a dream come true. I'm not sure this will happen, but we'll take it.
Because you get a player that I really like at defensive tackle in Derek Harmon. And obviously there's Buffalo has invested big time in overhauling that defensive front with Hoyt and Bosa and Agunjobi, and obviously Bosa and Agunjobi, it's 6 games for them. They'll miss the first 6 games of the season, but
Hoyt and Agunjobi. Yeah.
Hoyt and Agunjobi.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I think it was Bosa's dad had some juice and stuff in the late 80s. So
yeah, just assumed. I got you.
There's an affiliation.
Hey, they know how to get away with it, man. They've been doing it for a long time.
So I have a defensive tackle that I really like. And they've been invested there. Then I also have a number of corners. Darian Porter, and I know you really like Trey Amos. Those 2 guys, I like them a little bit more than Azariah Thomas, who I think is a little bit more of a press man exclusive. Would like him to maybe have a little bit more ball skills and ball production to fit in the McDermott style defense. And then Malachi Starks at safety is just a too good to be true value, even though he's not the need that I think the other 2 spots are when you consider Dane Jackson and what really is Daquan Jones at this stage of his career after, he earned the second contract he got in Buffalo with being really disruptive in a small sample size. And you didn't see that player again last year. So I've got 4 names here. Can you get rid of one?
Malachi Starks.
Okay.
Even though he might be the best prospect, I think it helps the Bills the least.
Then I'm going Derek Harmon here with this pick. They've been invested in the trenches. If they're going to follow through with that, They have the devil they know in Dane Jackson at CB2 right now. I do think there's some depth along the way at corner, so I'm not going to force the need. Whereas, Derek Harmon, I think is, even though it's a deep defensive tackle class, the disruption with the size and the potential, and, they play in deficient boxes. So having guys that can give you point of attack work and run defense, but also have disruption to play in numbers deficient boxes, that all adds up to me as like the most needle moving pick that I think I can give the Bills.
Would 100% have been my choice. I think he's a perfect penetration style nose tackle, one tack, really fits the Bills in a perfect way. So great selection.
Thank you.
I have Kansas City, and I was going to pick Derek Harmon for them.
Okay.
So that's been ruined, but we're okay with that. Man, I think about Colston Loveland, Kyle Crabbs. I do. I really do. But I think more about their offensive line. And I know that they paid Jalen Moore, but we're counting on Kingsley Suamaitea at left guard. Juwan Taylor, this will probably be his last season. And I think the bigger story is that, they're paying Creed Humphrey. They're paying Jalen Moore a little bit. And I think they want to pay Trey Smith. I think that will eventually happen.
Yep.
So impact on cost control, right? That's what we need for this offensive line. I think you achieve that with a first round pick. So we're going to go with Kelvin Banks, the offensive lineman out of Texas. I think there's certainly, played tackle in college, but I feel like if they wanted him to play guard, it could happen. So I think we have a potential right tackle. We got a potential left guard, but the bottom line is we have a exciting young prospect that gives us a cost control player that can help us balance things out with this O-line. So a lot of fun directions I could have went, but I feel like this is probably the best way that the Chiefs could invest this pick.
Well, and the last time Kansas City got thumped in the Super Bowl, they went out and invested heavy in the offensive line, right? Yeah. So you could look at the Jalen Moore signing and say, oh, well, left tackle. Sure. They need more than just Jalen Moore to answer their problems, especially when you move on from Joe Thuney. Which brings us to the board with Philadelphia. And we said that Colston Loveland was going to go in the first round of this conference.
Right. I thought he was going to go to the Rams. Then I was thinking about Kansas City. Here we are.
So Loveland, Philly is rumored to be shopping Dallas Goedert. And if your other tight ends on the roster are Grant Calcaterra, you bring in Kylan Granson and Harrison Bryant. This would be, if they did indeed move on from Goddard and kind of strip down the expensive player, which they've started to do in some degree as far as kind of reshuffling the deck because of how aggressive they've been with deferring cash to cap in the future years. This would be one of the spots where you see a player opportunity to invest that would align with the potential need on the roster. But I'm not going to do that because there's a Georgia defender that's the best player available.
And I was sitting here wondering.
At pick number 32. So we're just going to take Malachi Starks here because it's a Georgia defender who's the best player available, that Howie lets play the board and gets a steal and drafts for consensus. And everybody's going to applaud him and throw him another parade at the end of April because he drafted the best available player.
I was wondering the whole time if that's where that was going to land. And then you stuck the landing there in a big way. Now, I think the interesting thing is the Cleveland Browns are at pick 33. Somebody is trading up and they're going to get Colston Loveland. That's what's going to happen.
Nope.
Maybe the Rams, maybe exact teams we've been talking about, but
who knows?
The Chargers. Yeah.
Scientists don't even know, but that's going to do it for us here on the 2025 mock draft. Kyle Crabbs, Joe Marino, Locked On NFL Scouting. Appreciate you guys checking out the show. Make it a great rest of your day. We are out of here.